I feel like the globe is a squeeze box right now, and we're all just going, wee wah, wee wah.
It was you who kept me going.
Right on the other side of everything you're afraid of is everything that you're hoping to get to.
I'm, fabulous. I'm fabulous.
I tapped into the creative child that I once was, and that's really how I got my life back.
I can have my grief, but my grief doesn't have to have me.
And then maybe you'll realize, I'm badass.
I am magic, I am magic, I am magic.
I love coming and talking to you and laughing with you because that's what it's all about too, right?
It really is. When we open up to each other and we look at each other and go, wow, we really aren't that different, it does. It opens up a whole new world. I'm a believer that the art of having a conversation has been lost. So I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to start looking people in the eye and having a conversation with them. Sometimes I forget I have a house that I can go to sleep in, and I'm like, but I don't want to leave the tent. Hey everybody, welcome to Tent Chat. I'm Maureen Spataro, and tonight I get to sit here with creative enthusiast, educational leader, author, and my good friend, Joann Nocera. Hello, honey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
So Joann has just released her book, Give Me Back My Crayons, and along with it is the workbook, correct?
It's a planner.
It's a planner.
It's
yes.
a weekly planner to release your creativity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we get to all of that, you and I were actually talking about when we first met.
Yes.
And we both met at a time that was a little dark in our lives. We were kind of coming out of a dark point in our lives. And I kind of wanted to explore that a little bit with you, and so that people can understand, what's behind us doing the things that we do.
So I think the time that we met, I was going through a rough patch in my marriage. Things were coming to an end. I think sometimes you can't beg someone to love you.
Right.
You can't ask someone to be intimate if they're not feeling it anymore, and who's driving the intimacy bus at that point. It was a wonderful marriage, but something happened. I don't know, and everything started to change, and the new normal was not something that I was going to accept.
Right.
And I struggled with it. I got angry at times. I really wasn't myself in that relationship, and then when the divorce happened, things come crashing down. You really feel the loss. It's a loss.
It's a huge loss.
It's a huge loss.
It is.
And you have to grieve that.
Yes.
You have to grieve it. And when you start grieving it, where do you go to for comfort? How do you heal yourself? And so I found that my love of art, and it always was there, came about. My love of sewing and knitting. I learned how to knit. I never knew how to knit. My mom crocheted for many years. I didn't dabble in that too much until high school. I loved the fashion classes. I took art throughout middle school and high school, but I loved fashion design. And I had a teacher, Mrs. Rose, and she would say, Joann, you're going to get your portfolio together for FIT? And I said, a portfolio? Miss Rose? She goes, no, it's all ready. It's ready to go.
Right.
I abandoned ship, Maureen. I got so nervous because I would go home all excited, and my parents like, oh, art? You're never going to make any money in art. That's the whole thing, right?
Yes.
You're a woman. You're going to get married. You're going to have kids one day.
Yes.
Be a teacher. Be a secretary. Do something,
A teacher, a secretary, or a nurse.
A nurse, right?
nurse.
That's the whole thing. So why are you going towards art? And so I pushed it away, but really my gut was always gnawing at me. I did always want to become a teacher, by the way. I did.
Right.
I loved I used to teach all the little kids in the neighborhood. But I never thought about being an art teacher. That would have been a great combination, right? I don't even know why I didn't think of that. Anyway, long story short, I wanted to go away to a school in upstate New York that had a school right on the campus. Okay. And my dad wouldn't allow it. And he said, no, you're going to stay home. You're going to pick a school that's close to home. I didn't want to. So being a rebel, I totally shifted gears, and I went into a 2-year college, and totally, when you say you're on this path,
Yep.
I took the SAT. I was ready for a 4-year school. I went to a 2-year and went to work for Goldman Sachs.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that
oh
about
yeah, because
you.
that was where the money was. Cross over the bridge, and
See, I'm learning something new. I didn't know
I
that.
worked on a foreign exchange trading floor for a
Wow.
little subsidiary of Goldman Sachs called J. Aron. A fabulous place to work, high energy, totally fit my personality. But a couple of years, 7 years, and actually not even that long. It was 6 months into it, and I felt like I love it, but I'm not supposed to be here. This is not supposed to be my life.
It wasn't fulfilling.
So now I go back to school at night. I got pregnant with my son 7 years down the road, and I left Goldman and continued and got all of my certifications to become a teacher. And I never looked back, and it was the best decision I made. And so now I'm in the classroom.
Now,
Guess what I do?
What grade were you teaching?
I was certified K to 6. I
Okay.
did have my middle school cert for English and my master's degree in reading. I loved it, Maureen. I absolutely loved it. And I found a way to help kids be seen, heard, and understood. And that's really where my book comes into play, Give Me Back My Crayons. It was at the time when I looked towards the art, when I looked towards what took me out of the pain, how I saw what was happening with the kids.
So,
And I would push that into the classroom.
did you come up with a curriculum? Did you, or did you
I-
just start to kind of blend this into your
Yes,
teaching?
I found a way to write grants, and that I got the money in, and then with that would come in the arts integration. Now today they talk about arts integration, but it was really years ago that's what we did, because we would find that spark. At least I did. I found a spark in their eyes. I was like, wait a minute, they're responding to this. They're responding to the movement in the gym class. They're responding to the integration of activities that we would do that wasn't just, reading and writing. It was a culmination of everything.
We were talking about earlier, how when I was in school, I was in the band class.
Yeah.
We were the IGC kids, and it stood for intellectually gifted children, but I didn't know that. And I was in 2nd grade going into 3rd when they put me in that class, and I went home and I said to my mother, I'm an ingenious child. And she said, you're a what?
I love it.
I said, I'm in the ingenious children class. And of course,
That's
she had to
right.
call the principal and go, what does this mean? But being in that class, I realize looking back now, afforded us the luxury of being the kids who had music, of being the kids who the teacher took time out to do art. But as I had told you, being a child at that time who was being sexually abused, I know in my heart that had we been encouraged to be more creative and think out of the box, which, you're talking about the early 1970s. I mean, it wasn't happening then.
No.
But knowing what I was keeping in, had it been, had we not been instructed what to make,
Right.
well, make a picture of your pretty house and your family, and
Right.
had I been able to have the opportunity to just sit and be creative, I know it would have been a way for me to say the things that at that age I didn't understand were happening, but I knew they shouldn't have been.
And I also think,
Do you think that kids nowadays, though, do you think that that's something that children who are in really tough spots but don't know how to talk about it, do you think that that's
it
a
definitely
way?
helps. It definitely will heal. That's why I put the planner together, because each week you can get it out, release it. It's got to go somewhere,
It
and it's got to,
does.
and it has to be out. We need their authentic person that they're in the world out.
Right.
Authenticity is really important, and they need to know that who they were created to be is okay.
Yes.
So
I was a little guilty of that, I have to be honest with you.
yeah,
When Kayla was very, very little, and I used to take her to like the preschool classes, and the moms could be in them.
Yeah.
And it would be, okay, let's do this. And I could remember like her sitting right next to me and her going to do something and me going, well, maybe you should put it over there. And then after a few weeks, I noticed all the moms were doing that.
Yeah.
And I was literally creating an anxiety-ridden child who went to go do something and then would look at me and it would be like, no, like you need to make this decision on your own. Like
Right.
to me, it became a bigger picture of if she doesn't learn how to just get comfortable doing what she thinks she should do, then she's going to go to school and be lost without me. She's not going to know how to make a decision without me. Like
She'll
it
know how
becomes a bigger, but it does kind of become, you know, when you think about it,
How could they survive without us? They can.
right? But when you're around them, it's like they
Yes.
learn how to survive without us when we're close by
Yeah.
and we're just looking at them going, yeah, that's great. That's
Right,
terrific. So
right.
that when they
Stay
step
calm,
into
they stay
school,
calm.
it's, no, I got this. I'm good.
I often talk with parents about, you know, do you know how your child learns? Because sometimes we don't know what kind of learner they are.
Right.
Wouldn't that be great if you know that? Then you can give them that environment. They can be calm. They can
Yes.
learn. They can study that way. And all of a sudden things open up for them. And they're like, oh, I get it. Because everyone's brain learns differently.
I was definitely a visual learner.
Yeah.
You could
Most
show me
kids,
something once and I would remember it and never forget it.
Yeah.
If you told me to read it
Yeah.
and interpret
Yep.
it, it just didn't make sense
Right.
to
Those
me.
are the
I had to
linguistic
read
learners.
it.
Yeah.
I had to read it and read it.
Right.
And it turned out in the end, my daughter was the same way.
So you know what
she
we
would say,
do?
I'm a terrible test taker. And I
Yeah.
thought, it clicked with me. I'm like,
Right.
but see, back then,
You know what we
even back
do?
then, they
We know
didn't
what we do for those
something
learners?
special.
You know what we do? We give them the printed copy of the story, like a page or two,
Right.
and we show them how to interact with the text, how they box with different colors, they shade in the characters that represent, you know, meaning for them,
Wow.
right? Or they annotate on that text. They write on the side. I remember my 4th grade teacher, and we had to read Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell, right? It was the best book. She made us write in the book. Who like, you want me to write inside
Right.
the
Who
book?
can write in
I
a
can't.
book?
That's a book. I can't write in it. We did. We circled things. We wrote, and it was like a release for me.
Wow.
I get to do that. That's what I want to do. I would get lost when I would read. I would forget what I read. But if you had me write and draw in there, and she didn't even let us draw. I mean, she just told us, here's a vocabulary word. Back in the 70s, you're talking,
Oh, yes.
underline the vocabulary word. I went off and I started doodling and I started drawing, and I would hide it from her because I didn't want her to see. But in my own classroom with my own students years ago, I made them draw pictures, write whatever you feel. I don't think this is a good idea, question mark. Are you sure? Like, nope, not good.
Right.
With an X through it, you know?
I love that.
Bad idea, or I wouldn't be your friend. You know, interact
Wow.
with that. Would you be, if you were that character, I would put the character on the floor and they would have to step on the paper, jump into the story.
If
Right.
I ever had a teacher tell me, stand on a piece of paper and jump into the book, I could have done that.
Jump into
I
it.
could have said,
Yeah.
I can, this is
And
how
then
I
you
can
have the
get
drama
the
kids
story.
who you could sit in the seat and say, when you jump into that, I want you now to talk as if you were that character.
Oh my gosh.
They all of a sudden could become with the whole drama, because those are the kids that have to be on stage. Those are the kids that are going to be in the school play.
But I would have been the kid who was like,
But can you
"Oh,
imagine
I
if
can get into this."
now as I would survey my kids at the beginning of the school year and say, okay, I need to know how you learn so I could push into the classroom lessons that are going to connect with you.
Oh my God, I
Could
love
you
that.
imagine?
You would have been like my
Right?
favorite teacher in the whole wide world.
How much fun. I
would
was
have been
having fun
like,
with
can I
them.
get back just so I can have Mrs. Sarah again?
Yeah.
Because what
just
you're
near and dear to my heart.
offering is such, it's not only a creative way of learning, you're making children feel like it's okay for them to be themselves. It's okay
Yeah.
for them to learn the things the way that works best for them.
And it
like, when
wasn't
we
always
grew up,
like,
there was
"Hey,
only
fun."
one
Oh,
way.
that was it.
There was only
You were
one
in
way. I
rows.
tell people Dick and Jane
Yeah.
books. I grew up on Dick and Jane
Like,
books and
okay,
Spot.
read the next 3 pages and we'll go over it in 10 minutes. And
Yes.
The teacher would go back to the desk and we were isolated. No one spoke to us.
Nope.
No one cared to talk with us and hear how we read.
Yes.
And nope, just do your work and we'll get back to you in,
And if you were
10 minutes.
asked to read in
Oh.
class, it was like you were sitting
Round
there like,
robin
"Please,
reading.
Let me
Oh
be
my
the
God,
one.
I'm going
Is
to
it
be
my
paragraph
turn?"
number 3.
Yes.
Let me go skip
Just so I you could open your mouth and talk. I know. It's like, oh my God, like I need water. Like I need to talk. Yeah. So
I know.
you would have been my dream teacher.
I had wonderful years as a teacher, over 15 years, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. It was a great experience, and
now you're an author.
And now I'm an author, and I'm writing a children's book.
I know. I was going to say,
Catherine
am I allowed to bring this up? Because
Yes,
I know
it's coming.
in
It's
the
coming.
works. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, she's writing another book. I'm behind.
The editor is done with it. The manuscript is done. I'm waiting on the artwork from the illustrator. I'm so excited.
I love it.
You know,
I was going to say, could you tell me a little bit about
I
her?
want to hear about it. Okay.
A little bit. Because
So
I have
the
a
main
feeling she's going to
character-
be a character that a lot of children can relate to.
Well, her name is Catherine Grace.
Yes,
and
I
she
love-
is not graceful.
I love that.
No, she's not. She has a bow in one hair, and she's all disheveled. She's just messy because that's how she learns. Creativity can be found everywhere, but she has a grandma and a mom who give her all of this inspiration and stories. There's lots of stories that they tell her along the way of her journey that teaches her some lessons. But she figures it out on her own, and but you're gonna fall in love with her.
I think when I saw
God,
you
you're gonna
write,
fall
her
in love
name is
with her.
Catherine Grace, and she's not graceful. I thought this is gonna be the book
She has
that I'm
overalls and
I'm gonna be sitting in the
sneakers.
tent, and I'm gonna be reading this book.
She
like
tries
I'm a
to wear her
10-year-old
mom's
again.
shoes, but they're too big. Yeah, she's got different color socks. Yeah, she's a hoot. She really is a hoot. But I love her.
I think it's
There's many
awesome.
adventures. This is the first of many, and I'm
So this
excited.
is gonna be a series.
Oh yeah, this is a series.
A series. I love it.
There's going to be like creativity kits that come with the book. I'm not sure yet about that. I got to talk to some people about putting that forward in the world, but yeah, it's going to be exciting.
So can I ask
Maybe
you
a doll. We'll see.
when we first originally started talking, we were
Yes.
talking about how we both came from a dark place. And when you look back on that now, did you ever imagine that
No,
this
no.
is where you would be?
Yeah, no. But I let myself. I tapped into the creative child that I once was, and that's really how I got my life back. I'm going to tell you
Yes.
right now. And that's why the planner exists, and even the pin. I have a pin for you today.
Yay.
It's a box of crayons. We release our creativity. It's Create. It's
Thank
for you. But yeah, I think we have to remind ourselves every day that creativity is within all of us. It is not for just the art. Oh, I'm not artistic, and I can't draw. I can't paint. No, that's not what creativity is about. You can be creative in medicine. You can be creative in engineering. You can be creative in any aspect of life. Right. Just look at all the people. Okay, can we talk about COVID and all the people that have been creative during this time?
Yes.
That we don't have anything going on in our lives. We were in quarantine. We were home. All of a sudden, creativity is bursting out in everybody. How did they become so creative?
Yeah.
Because they stood still a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
All the distractions were taken away, and our busy lives were taken away. And guess what? Something positive came out of it.
Yes. I hope that
Yes.
people really are taking the time to
We
take
get
a
that
hard look
time
at
back,
themselves.
those precious moments back with our
Yes.
families, our
Yes.
kids, and really,
Reconnecting.
yeah.
Reconnecting and maybe learning how to have a conversation.
I know.
Wouldn't
Like
that
you're
be
doing
nice?
here.
Yes,
I love
that's
what you're
I'm
doing, by
trying.
the way.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm trying really hard, to introduce that concept back to the
Aw.
world. And
It's great.
I think if we all get to know about each
Yeah.
other and we all take the time to listen, we'll realize that we each have a story.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Maureen,
much for
thank
coming
you
tonight.
for having me.
This was so much
I
fun.
had such a great time.
This was so
I love
much
this
fun.
tent.
I'm really excited. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love my tent too. I almost live in it. Sometimes I
would
forget
love
I
it.
have a house that I can go to sleep in, and I'm like, but I don't want to leave the tent.
Yeah.
So, but thank you so much, honey.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you
Thank
doing
you.
this. And I guess that's it for tonight. So thank you all for watching, because I know millions of you are going to be watching this. And so for Tent Chat, I'm Maureen. Good night, everybody. Mwah. And remember, you are magic.